everybody, welcome to another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim Jousma, and with me I've got...
Kim the Geek.
Alright, another week. We are here. We got a special bonus episode coming up this Sunday.
Yes, because Tim's making me go see wrestling.
I'm not making you do anything.
Okay, so you, suggested it, and I said, okay, I'll go, and you bought the tickets. So you're not really making me, you invited me.
I invited you, yeah. I mean, one, you did not have to say yes to it, but you did. And, later this year, we've already talked about me going to a drag show of some sort.
Yeah, we'll figure that part out once something rolls through town that sounds like it would be good.
Yeah, maybe if Poyle Del Mar came to the area, that'd be cool to see him perform and whatnot. But this Sunday, I'm really excited for the show. As you know, and as I've said on the show before, I've been to numerous live wrestling events going all the way back to the 80s. But this lineup here for this show is by far the best quality wrestling lineup I will ever see live.
Wow.
And that is saying something here. So, for folks that are not aware, NXT used to be WWE's developmental brand, but now and we talked about it on our first episode back, episode 77, when AEW debuted, WWE wanted to counter that, which is really hypocritical on their part, because in the documentaries when they talk about WWE facing off against WCW back in the 90s, Vince McMahon whined big time about, they have this show that they could put on any night of the week, but they have to put it on Mondays up against Raw. And what does he do when he gets a first chance when another company starts up on a day that they're not having a show? He puts a show on against them.
Of course he does.
He's a hypocritical bastard. But the show is definitely going to be exciting. And like I said, we're going to have a bonus episode this Sunday, kind of going through. It'll be interesting to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, because I've never seen professional wrestling live.
Yeah.
And I really have only started watching it, recently. And it's mainly just clips that you show me on occasion, and I don't follow all the podcasts and stuff like you do, and all that. I'm just curious because I've kind of wanted to see it live at some point in my life. One of those kind of
you want to see how the magic's done.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it should be pretty exciting. I hope it's not a total testosterone fest because I get kind of anxious in crowds. I'm not a huge fan of big crowds.
Well, the good thing about NXT... I'm sorry to cut you.
No, it's just big groups of shouting men just make me nervous.
Well, the good thing about NXT is that, one, they have a really deep women's roster.
That's true.
The women's roster, by far, is probably putting on some of the better matches of the show, and because of that, more women are actually paying attention to the product. Imagine that. You give something women want to see, and they're going to come see it.
I know. Crazy.
Yeah. But before we go into the show proper, we'll just go through a quick rundown of what the NXT TakeOver Portland show is going to be. One of the matches on the card is going to be Tegan Nox versus Dakota Kai in a street fight. They used to be tag team partners, but I believe it was Tegan Nox turned on Dakota Kai. So street fights usually involve weapons, and there's a good chance they may come out into the audience, and we're kind of into the lower levels where we're seated, so it's not guaranteed, but they could easily come in our direction. So that'll be cool. One match I'm really excited to see is Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano. You have no idea who those two people are.
I don't know who any of these people are, really.
But Finn Balor has been wrestling for years upon years. He made his name in Japan for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then made his way to the WWE and just has been putting on 5-star matches since. Johnny Gargano, again, made his name on the indies as well, but he's been primarily an NXT wrestler since working with WWE, but they've both put on some amazing matches, so you're going to love that one. You got Keith Lee, the NXT North American champion, facing off against Dominik Dijakovic for the championship. Keith Lee is about 6'5", he's about 300 pounds, but that guy can do some aerial stuff that you would... he can do stuff that like 5 foot tall luchadors can barely do. I mean, I've seen him do like dives over the top rope. That's gonna be a good match. You got the match for the NXT Women's Championship. You got the champion Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair has a great gimmick. You'll see it when she gets there. She has this ponytail that's really, really long, and then she'll walk down to the ring and start swinging it. But then during the match too, she will hit her opponent with it and choke out her opponent with her hair.
Okay.
The important thing about this match too is that the rumor is, thanks to wrestling journalists like Dave Meltzer, that at WrestleMania 36 we're going to see Rhea Ripley face off against Charlotte Flair for the NXT Championship at WrestleMania. So the rumor is we're going to see Charlotte Flair this Sunday.
Oh.
She's going to answer, because she has not come out and specifically said what she's going to challenge for, but I suspect what we'll see when we get there in the arena, they'll have a big WrestleMania sign. And then after the match, after Rhea wins, what I would suspect is if they do have the WrestleMania sign, Charlotte Flair comes out and then will do what every Royal Rumble winner has done since WrestleMania 20, and that's point to the WrestleMania sign and saying all she has to say by that. Then you gotta...
So what was the name of the person who whips people with her hair?
Bianca Belair.
You know that's probably not her real hair, right?
Probably an extension.
It's probably a lot of extensions.
Still, the fact that she's using it as a weapon is great.
Just so you know that it's probably not her real hair.
I get it.
Okay.
I mean, because I imagine hair that long, even if you do treat it religiously, is the longer it gets, probably the weaker it gets at the end. And
the ends will split and it gets heavy.
Yeah.
Really, really heavy. I used to have really long hair, and
I had shoulder-length hair once.
You cut it off, and you're just like, wow, my hair is like 8 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
My head's like so light.
Well, I figured with I got like a pumpkin head anyway, so I don't need something else to make it look even bigger. Then we got a match for the NXT Tag Team Championships. The champions from the Undisputed Era, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, will face off against the Broserweights, Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne. That is going to be another great match there. And then finally, for the NXT Championship, Adam Cole, the champion, will face off against Tommaso Ciampa.
And now I'm picturing you with a jack-o'-lantern for a head. Since you had a pumpkin head. You said you had a pumpkin head.
Oh, okay. All I can think of is Halloween 3. I don't recall seeing that entire movie all the way through, but I do remember that scene where the kid had a pumpkin mask on and he was watching TV, and then a special thing came on, and then he started squeezing, and he killed himself by just like squeezing his head into mush.
That's gross.
Yeah. Well, that's horror movies for you.
Gross.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, on to the show itself.
On to the show.
In the previous episodes, you've talked about, we've mentioned Beavis and Butthead, and you've mentioned that Beavis and Butthead, was a pretty big influence on music.
Yeah, I would say it was one of those things that just showed up on MTV and everybody just started watching it. And then all of a sudden, people were like getting into these bands that were on Beavis and Butthead, it seemed like.
Yeah, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought, why not go through and just, name off a couple of bands that I probably would not have given the time of day if it were not for Beavis and Butthead.
All right, which bands are those?
All right, first one, it was a band called White Zombie.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I hadn't really heard much about White Zombie until they were on Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, Beavis and Butthead is what launched White Zombie and of course Rob Zombie into the public consciousness. It was Thunder Kiss 65.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they may have, I believe they also covered, what was that? Black Sunshine?
I don't know. I'm really not into White Zombie, so...
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like a couple of their songs. I like Rob Zombie more than anything else, but his solo work. But, it was different. It was, the video was the video for Thunder Kiss 65 is kind of like a tribute to, like a Grindhouse movie from the 70s. You could see, you could tell that Rob Zombie was going to have a shot at making a movie at some point in the future, because it told a story, it was visually stimulating, the music was good, but yeah, I mean, without Beavis and Butthead, you never would have heard them before. Someone else that may surprise you, Frank Sinatra.
Beavis and Butthead got you into Frank Sinatra?
Yeah, they played a video that they did for the Duets album in the early '90s. It was his last big official release.
I remember.
Yeah, and he had a video with Bono for "I've Got You Under My Skin."
Oh, that's right. He did do a duet with Bono, didn't he?
Yeah. Now God,
freaking U2. Oh, don't get me started about U2.
U2's okay. I mean,
one of the most overrated bands ever.
I would agree with that. I mean, but having said that, they do have some. They're a greatest hits band for me.
Ugh.
But hearing that video is the first time I really had a chance to listen to something else from Sinatra besides the theme from New York, New York. And I've Got You Under My Skin. What a hell of a love song.
I don't know if that's a love song or more of an obsession song.
For me, I would put it as a love song. I think it's one of those. It's a love song about somebody that was falling in love with another person that didn't necessarily want to at first, but then just fell head over heels.
I'm mentally reviewing the lyrics, and I'm just.
I've got you under my skin.
It's just there's a lot of songs from that era that were on the borderline between like Sweet and Stalker.
It wasn't a police song, let's put it that way. it wasn't one that you would be like, yeah, and where are you going to be at late at night so I can lock my doors type of song.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was that. The Bee Gees.
The Bee Gees?
Yeah, they played Jive Talking.
I guess I didn't watch enough Beavis and Butthead because I don't recall the Bee Gees or Frank Sinatra as Beavis and Butthead staples. The Rob Zombie, yes, or White Zombie, whatever.
But again, I'm talking for me and me alone. I'm not talking for the general audience, but hearing the Bee Gees, at first I thought that they were going to make fun of them, but Jive Talking was a great song, and then it just ended with Beavis having fun with the bass line.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't really know much about the Bee Gees until I got to college and stuff, and when the whole rave music thing hit, I was in my second year of college, and so what kind of happened was a counter wave, at least on my campus, where a lot of people started getting into disco music, just because rave music and disco music are pretty closely related. There's a lot of sampling going on and things of that nature, so it was kind of there was a resurgence of just dance music in general that everybody was playing at parties and stuff, and so yeah, a lot of people just raided the Goodwill, got a bunch of disco albums, and it was an interesting time in music for me.
Yeah. And last but not least, and there are others as well, last but not least for me was Primus.
Oh yeah, I can see that. I mean,
Winona's got herself a big brown beaver.
Yeah, I mean, I was familiar with Primus before Beavis and Butthead were popular, but yeah, I could see that where you would learn about Primus that way.
Yeah, I mean, overall that show has had a pretty massive impact. I mean, it really was ahead of its time in how it showcased music, but it also was one of the first shows that essentially showed what television and entertainment was going to be like going forward. Because in the 80s, 70s, 60s, up until the early 90s, broadcasters would, even cable providers would try to make content for as many people as possible. But it was around the mid-90s-ish and, going till today. And we discussed it previously, too. I mean, Fred Silverman he planted the seed, but the 90s was probably the time where, television companies were making content for very specific audiences and not content that...
just general content when the idea of like multiple TVs per household and cable TV became realities, which was starting towards the late 80s and then into the 90s.
Yep.
And then people were realizing, oh, everybody can watch what they want to watch all at the same time, but in different rooms, which kind of destroyed the whole family dynamic. But then there were so many different channels. I mean, you could have like, little Julie in her room watching, Disney Channel, and dad's watching baseball, and mom's watching her soaps that she recorded earlier in the day, and then Junior's off playing video games or whatever. I mean...
Or watching the Scrambled Spice Channel.
Yeah. That would be you.
I never did that. Wink.
Anyway. Yeah, that was definitely true. When programming started to get really specific was definitely towards the late 80s, early 90s. Because even when I was a kid, we at one point had a TV upstairs and a TV downstairs because my parents finally finished the basement. So we had a TV downstairs, and if the kids wanted to watch something other than what mom and dad were watching, they had to go downstairs in the cold basement.
No, for us, I mean, we had cable as long as I can remember. I mean, I still remember this little brown box that the cable company gave us, where it was like this little switch that you would just go, if you want to go to channel 45, you go up to 45 and then down, and all my sister and I would do it just back and forth. And also too, I mean, growing up with one TV and cable, if my mom wanted to watch something, that's what we watched.
Yep.
Whether I wanted to or not.
Yep. Mom and dad overruled us.
Yeah, I mean, that was so great when I had kids of my own, but I still tried to show them stuff that they may find some enjoyment out of. I wasn't a complete dick, but, I'm sure some of them would disagree.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Going back to Primus, have you ever had a chance to see Primus live?
Nope.
I've got to see them live twice now. It was a good time.
Did you know that Les Claypool, when Cliff Burton in Metallica died, auditioned to be the bass player in Metallica?
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't get it, of course, but in that, what do they call that, documentary that they did that everybody goofed on Metallica about, but there was a documentary in the 2000s that they did, and Les Claypool was a guest in that documentary, and they were joking about the audition because I guess he showed up looking nothing like a metal star and then just did what Les Claypool does, and they became friends. They're still friends today, but they both realized that Les Claypool and Metallica was never going to work.
Yeah, I don't think those groovy bass lines with Metallica, although that would be an interesting mashup.
It would be interesting, but I think it would be distracting more than anything else. Because I think with metal, the primary instrument in metal has always been guitar. You have someone like Motorhead with Lemmy being a lead bass player in that, but even then, Lemmy was playing it like a guitar. I mean, with a pick and and whatnot. He wasn't going all over the place. And I think Les Claypool was probably more inspired by people like the bass player from Rush or John Entwistle from The Who.
Just funk in general.
Yeah, just
Yeah, that would be... I would still like to hear that on a couple of songs. That would be interesting.
It would shock me if they did not do some concert together. I mean, occasionally Metallica will have people come out and they'll do duets. So we'd have to look on Google, but I would be shocked if there wasn't some video somewhere of them
probably
playing.
It wouldn't surprise me either.
Oh wait, I think I know what it may be, because I know Metallica did an acoustic radio show.
Oh.
And I think Les Claypool was a part of that, because one song they did on that acoustic radio show ended up on their Garage Inc. album, where they did the cover of Lynyrd Skynyrd's Tuesday's Gone.
I never listened to that album. I should check it out, probably.
I liked it because the first disc on the album was their initial EP, Garage Days. Or I forgot the initial, but they had a cover that an EP that Metallica did in the 80s where they covered a bunch of bands that influenced them. And then for Garage Inc., what they ended up doing was covering other stuff too, like Tuesday's Gone, like Turn the Page from Bob Seger, Whiskey in the Jar, Whiskey in the Jar is a traditional Irish song, but it was made famous by Thin Lizzy. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, you were reading a book.
Yes, I read lots of books. I do. I read a lot of books. And this week I had read an article on the Washington Post about Jessica Simpson and her new autobiography where she spills all the tea on some of the stuff that she's been doing over the years. And, you know, I've never been a big fan of Jessica Simpson. I've always just kind of I've kind of admired her a bit because she's taken her career in a lot of different directions, and she keeps bouncing back from a lot of different adversity. I mean, she had the Newlyweds show with Nick Lachey and came across as a total idiot, but she's not a stupid person.
Well, in those reality shows, what people didn't realize when they first started becoming prevalent was that they are shows. It's not that they just turned on the camera. What they do for almost all of those shows is they will introduce some element of drama or tell somebody to ham it up or something like that. Yeah. So I think there was an instance to where I don't know if she mentions it in the book, but the Chicken of the Sea deal.
Oh yeah, of course she mentions that in the book. That whole thing was huge, where she was making that comment. But it's not that she's not stupid. She seems to have a good sense of humor. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is that she at one point, she talks about in her early years, she had a pretty severe stutter, and that's how she got started singing, is because if she couldn't say it, she could sing it. So, you know, rather than stuttering and trying to get her words out, she would sing whatever she was trying to say.
I have to go potty.
Yeah, you know, or whatever. And it was like, I would like a sandwich today. I don't know.
Do you want mustard on it? No.
Anyway. Just ham and cheese, please.
And make it quick, you dirty bitch. No,
anyway. You're terrible. No, it's just, you know, a lot of people have this idea that she's a dumb blonde, but she's not dumb. And she's gone through a lot of the same problems that most of us have with self-esteem and depression and anxiety and drinking problem. And
I've never had any of those.
You're so full of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's interesting because she does drop a lot of tea, aka truth, on her relationship with John Mayer back in the day.
Ooh.
Yeah. Sounds like he's a real dick.
That wouldn't shock me.
It wouldn't shock me either. But,
all I remember from John Mayer, though, I haven't really heard his music, but I remember that Chappelle Show bit where him and Dave Chappelle were singing Every Rose Has Its Thorn, and then the black cop was like, that's my shit. You know, I grew up in the suburbs.
I never saw that. Anyway. Yeah, I never really watched the Chappelle Show, so.
Oh, classic.
Anyhow, this autobiography, I find it really interesting, and it's touching because she seems like a nice person in general, and I do admire women who like pull themselves up out of toxic relationships and get their shit together and have a good. It's a success story, and it's a positive success story, and I like that, and so I've been enjoying it. So I would recommend it if you like, you know, you like your share of trash TV, and you like to see someone turn things around and start living their best life. I mean, this woman came up with her own clothing line and is now a billionaire as a result. Literally, she's made $1 billion from her clothing line.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I like looked at her website and I was looking at her clothes and I'm like, these aren't clothes that I would wear, but I can see their appeal. And she does them from size small to 3X. So it's like I could wear them if I wanted to. And the shoes are way too high. I would not wear the shoes. But I was very pleasantly surprised.
Well, I mean, maybe. And does she comment about stuff like the Dukes of Hazzard? How we talked about on episode 77 when we talked about the male gaze and how they utilized her more for eye candy and not anything substantial.
Yeah, she talked about that a little bit.
How so?
Well, she mentions that she was, for one thing, she dieted like crazy to get to that. That's not her natural state of being.
Yeah.
She's not a skinny little thing like she has appeared before. In order to do that, she's been on diet pills and been basically starving herself and just going crazy mentally as a result.
Yeah.
But I think her thing is, it's not that she wants necessarily to be eye candy. It's just that she genuinely just wants to be a funny, happy girl.
Well, and to be clear, I'm not saying there's anything necessarily inherently wrong with eye candy. I mean, it's but I can see where, especially for a woman, it would be frustrating when, you do have interest in other areas that they just tell you, smile, look pretty, show your boobs, type of
and basically that's what they were doing, and the fact that she was able to sort of push out of that, because that was basically what Tommy Mottola, or however you say his name, from Sony, was doing to her on her first couple of albums. Like, she was trying to get on MTV, trying to get her videos on there. You gotta lose more weight, you gotta get more abs, you gotta show more skin. And she was just like, but I don't want to. I want to just sing my music. And
well, he was married to Mariah Carey when she was doing the jeans and black shirt deal, which, I mean, and then after she divorced him, then she went all Vegas showgirly, but different story for a different day.
Yeah. At any rate, she basically was told, no, you need to be making music this way. And she was able to take the money that she made from being on Newlyweds to do her own type of music. And then she really took off when she went kind of country. And then also when her fans were like, so where did you get your clothes? And she started being like, well, this is, I bought this at Barney's or someplace like that. This is too expensive. Why don't I just make my own clothes and sell them to my fans? And boom. And she's not doing like couture. She's doing stuff that real people can afford and wear. Like I said, sizes small to 3X. So, she's defied stereotypes in a lot of ways and just has pushed through and gone on to do her own thing. And
any juicy sex stories?
Well, apparently she had John Mayer John Mayer called her sexual napalm at one point.
What? Why?
Apparently, it's, from what it sounds like, is they were very toxic together, and he was like kind of obsessed with her. But it was kind of like, it was like a breakup, get back together, breakup, get back together, breakup, get back together. One of those kinds of things.
Got it.
Yeah.
And
a lot of us have gone through that at least once.
Most people multiple times, of course.
Yeah, and those relationships are never good. But there's something.
Ideally, what you would want to do in a relationship like that is to figure out what is attracting you to that person, that makes you want to have them in your life, but to accept the reality that as far as a relationship goes, it is not good or healthy for either of you. In a perfect world, you would find a way to still be friends because there's something that's causing a spark. But
it doesn't always work that way.
That's life. I mean, that's life.
And it's something we all have to go through at some point.
Yep.
Anyway, I liked it. Jessica Simpson, Open Book is the name of it.
All right.
You can get it just about anywhere where books are sold.
All right. Well, speaking of women in entertainment.
Oh.
Yeah. Came across a rather stupid fucking article.
Oh, one of those, huh?
Yeah. This is from the very quote-unquote reputable website, cheatsheet.com. They have an article that the title is Captain Marvel 2, is Marvel caving to disgruntled fans and replacing Brie Larson?
Let's hope not.
Well, first of all, no, they're not. A film makes $1 billion and you have someone as the star of that film. The production company's going to do what they can to keep that person as the star of that film.
Probably, yeah.
Unless there is absolutely no reason, no way for that person to perform. I mean, I can't think of any other long time, big time successful movie that had a star that, when the sequel came around was replaced. I'm sure there are examples, I just can't think of it.
I can't think of any either.
Yeah, but the article goes into, sadly I read it, and it goes into a discussion about a small contingency of fans, that go to places like change.org. They talk about a petition that was put together that had over 30,000 signatures. Ooh. Saying that Brie Larson should be replaced. Now, what some of these fans have done too is they kind of twist it to make themselves appear to not be misogynistic against Brie Larson. Oh no, we want a woman of color to play Captain Marvel. That's what we want. Yeah, Brie Larson was great as Captain Marvel. I mean, we've talked about Captain Marvel on the show before. Not a perfect movie by any means, but Brie Larson did one hell of a job.
Brie Larson's a very talented actor, so
yeah.
Why would you change Brie Larson?
You don't change Brie Larson. Marvel is not going to change unless she develops like a meth habit that she starts smoking crystal meth live on Late Night with Stephen Colbert or Late Show with Stephen Colbert. They're not going to replace her.
No.
And it's just, again, these online fans that, this article is, fanning the fire. And sadly, me talking about it on this podcast is fanning a little bit of the fire, because it's taking a very small minority of people and making their opinion mean more than what it really does.
Then why did you bring it up?
Because
I have to ask the question.
Don't put my feet to the fire like that. No,
your feet are nowhere near a fire at the moment.
Give it 5 minutes. No, it's.
What, are you gonna fart? Light it on fire? Then your feet will be on fire.
I'll save that for episode 100.
Okay.
And we'll magically not have any guests for that episode.
Yeah, if you're gonna light your farts, you can solo that one.
Yeah. No, it's one thing for people to just not like a film. Like me, when it comes to the Zack Snyder DC films, I don't like them. I'm not a fan, and I'm going to be vocal about what I don't like about them.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with that, because I also acknowledge that there are fans of those movies, and those fans, if Warner Brothers, with the Zack Snyder example, feels that they can make money with those fans by putting out more Zack Snyder content, by all means they should go out and do that. But people have this tendency to think that their opinion, and that is clearly what this is, when it comes to the Brie Larson news, is fact. It is not fact, and I feel it's important to talk about it so people can maybe, hopefully, kind of, sort of have the film on their eyes kind of dissipate to kind of see what their actions are doing.
Well, and the thing is that there are people like that for pretty much every fandom.
There are. I mean,
even like, I play Elder Scrolls Online. That's like the game that I play. And, if you look at the online forums, there's always going to be somebody who's like, you guys have broken insert, part of game here. And, it's so broken, it's unplayable, I'm going to quit, blah 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 blah. And that's what all these people are doing basically. They're like, this is broken, we don't like the casting, you better fix it,
make it the way I want to do it.
Make it the way I want to do it. It's like, no, if you want it the way you want it, then you need to go and start a Hollywood studio and, find like, $50 to $100 million somewhere.
Not even that. What they need to do is put their money behind entertainment that pleases them.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't like the Marvel movies,
watch the DC movies. If you don't like DC, watch the Marvel movies. If you don't like either, watch a Martin Scorsese movie.
Yeah, it's like watch sports, watch reality TV. Find a costume drama you like. There's something out there for everybody.
Yeah, and I also think too, on some of these people that have podcasts, or some people that have YouTube channels, like the YouTube channels can be pretty bad, because you got some people that even to this day will on a daily basis put out multiple videos talking about how Marvel's going bankrupt or Brie Larson is the absolute worst. And I just what it does is, unfortunately, negativity sells, and I don't get that. That's not logical. And I
don't understand it either. You're just putting a whole lot of energy into hating. It's bad for you physically to spend that much energy hating something or somebody. It wears you down. It literally wears you down.
And yeah, when you have that amount of hate, I mean, everybody has everybody's had an experience where they've had some form of irrational hate.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it happens. It can happen pretty regularly. I mean, I know there are some people that I just have just irrational dislike for, and I don't know why, but I do. And so I just kind of like, okay, just put it aside, focus on something else.
There's a reason I wake up with bruises. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, apparently I'm violent in my sleep.
Oh, there was one time, I think you may have thought you were a ninja. You were punching and kicking.
It doesn't surprise me. I have some really vivid dreams sometimes, usually involving being a superhero or a secret agent or something to that effect. And a lot of times if I'm having a bad dream, I can actively change it as I'm dreaming, and usually it's magic. So if you see me like holding my hands out, it's because I'm stopping the bad dream.
Well, one time you were giving like a right hook to the air.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Whoa, calm down, Rocky.
Yeah, I remember. I think that was the dream where someone was trying to smother me, and so trying to get them off. Yeah, I have, like I said, I have some pretty vivid dreams.
Oh, I remember my ex-wife when after my daughter was born, she had some pretty hardcore medication she had to have because the doctor that did the C-section did like a 13-inch incision.
Good Lord.
And it didn't heal properly. So some of the medication that she would put her to sleep, but she would still be awake, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was that kind of Twilight kind of.
Yeah, and I convinced her one time. I was a guy named Harold, and she, in her head, had a picture of Harold as like this short little 5 foot tall guy with like red hair and whatnot, and I would have whole conversations with her as Harold. And then one time, she was like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm Jesus." And she's like, "No, you're not. You're not Jesus." And I'm like, "No, Jesus Costello." Convinced her I was Jesus Costello, so that was funny.
If I ever have to take drugs like that, don't do that to me. Because I'll right hook you. You know I can. You've seen it.
Or karate kick me.
Or I'll karate kick you.
Roundhouse kick to the face.
You'll deserve it too.
Yeah, finish him.
Yep. It'll be a Mortal Kombat moment in the bedroom.
Hey now.
I don't think anybody wants to do that.
Yeah. All right. Album review of the week.
Album review of the week. It's my week.
Yep. And what did you pick?
I picked Jane's Addiction. That's the band, and the album is Nothing Shocking. And I'll tell you why I picked it.
Okay.
It was a band that a bunch of my friends and I were into when we were in high school. And it was when they were touring for a different album other than this one. This is their second album, their first studio album, but their second release. Yeah. They released an album first on an independent label that was just live tracks.
And apparently a couple of songs on this album were from that first album as well. So.
Yeah. But, so they were touring for Ritual de lo Habitual, and they had a show at the Salem Armory of all places. And it was on a school night. So my friends and I, being that we were seniors and it was late in the year, it was like May. It was late in the school year, so we were pretty much done with all the serious stuff for the year. So we decided to, our parents were okay with it. We skipped school. The concert I think was on like a Sunday night, so we were all going to skip school on Monday. Ooh, the day after.
Dangerous.
But, I know, so dangerous. So, one of our friends had moved previously, and she was living in Silverton, which is down near Salem. And so a bunch of us all went to the show, went to the Jane's Addiction concert, and some of my friends were into illegal substances, and some of my friends were not, high school. But I was not, so I was one of the sober drivers, and we went to the concert. It was really good.
So your friends were freebasing cocaine, right?
No, just weed. It was more like weed, and I think someone had some beer or something. Ooh. But so then we go to the concert. It gets done late. Then we go to my friend's place in Silverton, and little did we know that she was living on a farm. It was a friggin' farm. So it's like super dark because it's out in the middle of nowhere. And so we all pull in, and we've all got sleeping bags and stuff. We all pile into the living room and crash out. But apparently someone's car was blocking one of the gates for the sheep. So we were awakened in the morning by our friend's dad or uncle or somebody need your car keys. You're gonna move the car. It's blocking the gate, and we need to herd the sheep. And one of my friends, Jeff, he was just like, I have to herd sheep? He's all half asleep, and I think he had been high the night before. We have to herd sheep? What? I don't know how to herd sheep. And we're just like, Jeff, just give him your keys. And anyway, it was just silly, and
okay.
It was fun skipping school. It was a really fun concert. I got to see Jane's Addiction twice that year. I saw them again at the very first Lollapalooza when it stopped in Seattle. It was actually
that Perry Farrell organized.
Yep. It was one of their last stops on the tour, and of course, it being Seattle, it rained. Even though it was summer, it rained. That was an experience all on its own. That whole Lollapalooza. Whew, it was crazy, but it was fun. It was crazy, but it was fun, and that was when I was 18. So,
all right,
I was young and dumb. And
did you show Perry Farrell your boobs?
No,
were you one of those girls like, oh my god?
I like the band Jane's Addiction, but I have absolutely no attraction to any of the members.
Okay. Not even Dave Navarro?
No. They're too sketchy.
A former coworker of mine actually was, what's that show on? There was a tattoo show. I think it was called Ink Masters.
Oh yeah. There's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple of different tattoo shows, and he was on. I think he was on Ink Masters. Yeah.
Yeah, but she was actually on that show. Where they did Van Gogh's Starry Night on her back.
Oh.
And whatnot, and she talked about being a little skeeved out because there's one scene where he was watching, and she's a woman with her shirt off, getting this done, and then you have slimy rock guitarist Dave Navarro, standing next to her, and she's lying on a table with her shirt off and whatnot, and she felt a little awkward.
yeah, that would be a bit awkward if you're not getting something that you can easily expose, like your arm or your leg or something tattooed, and you're on basically a TV set with a ton of people wandering around.
No, I did have a little fun at her expense, though, because her and I, believe it or not, have a little sarcastic thing. Like, we first met on the Best Buy water cooler that I've talked about before. And there was a time where, for whatever reason, people wanted to be the water cooler president. And, I was one of them that had tossed my hat into the name, and there was no official water cooler president. People were just goofing around. But I made a campaign commercial where I talked about this little girl named Rosita who, it's a sign of growing up that, you lose a tooth, you put it under the pillow, and, you're there for the tooth fairy. And there's a reason for this, because she had, her name is Alex. She had a picture of herself with like a tutu on and wings. So I implied that she beat up a little girl and took all her money. And do you want this type of person as your water cooler president?
You're terrible, Tim.
Yeah, but what I did on the show is that of all the images of her on that show, I was able to get a screenshot of her just like in pain, but when they're doing the tattoo, but it was like a close up of her face, but it could be interpreted in different ways.
Oh, jeez.
I'm an asshole.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about these songs track by track.
Yep, and as usual, we're giving our honest opinion. What if we like it, we like it. We don't, we don't. But we encourage you to listen to this album.
Yeah. I like this album. Like I said, it's their second release, first studio album. Quite honestly, I haven't really listened to much after Ritual to the Habitual, so I don't know if their current stuff is any good. I'm guessing probably not. I haven't listened to it, but I'm guessing probably not, because basically after their third album, it kind of went to shit. The band broke up. The band breaks up and gets back together on a regular basis. And then they've had side projects, and the side projects weren't that great either. I didn't like... The main side project was Porno for Pyros, and I didn't really like that band at all.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty overdone. But honestly, I think their first three releases are solid, and that includes this release that we're going to talk about today. So,
okay. With
that being said, first song is Up the Beach. And it's basically kind of an intro instrumental with like a little bit of Perry going ooh and stuff.
Yeah.
There's not much to say about it.
No, I mean it did have. I would be absolutely shocked if the opening of the song was not inspired by Black Sabbath, because I got kind of vibes from the first Black Sabbath album with their first song on the album called Black Sabbath. Imagine that. Mm-hmm. But it kind of a weird mood piece. I think this and another song near the end. Thank You Boys. Yeah. I don't know if they were looking for a concept album per se, but it just sounded clunky. It sounded like the first song that you would hear on like a concept album or like an overture or something like that. But
yeah, I think it's just they were... Honestly, I don't know why they didn't just end it. Well, that's towards the end, but
yeah,
they should have just... If they're going to start it with Up the Beach, they should have ended it with Thank You Boys, but they didn't. They switched.
They had to keep going.
They switched the two tracks, which is weird. Anyway, so track 2, Ocean Size, is the first, like, proper song on here. And I like the song, but it's very overdramatic. It's the way that it's sung, it's basically like, I wish I was ocean size, meaning big as the ocean. And you gotta realize, too, that these albums were made under the influence of a lot of drugs. And you can hear it.
I mean, the notes I had, I love the guitar work.
Mm-hmm.
Despite everything I said about Dave Navarro, he's one hell of a guitar player.
Yeah, he knows how to play the guitar.
Yeah,
he may be kind of a skeezy guy, but he knows how to play the guitar.
Yeah, and that more than anything for me is what kept my interest marginally there for this particular song. I put that it was forgettable, but the guitar work makes it worth a listen. I'm also gonna put it out there that I've never been a fan of Perry Farrell's vocals.
His voice is definitely an acquired taste. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like the first 3 albums, and then I don't know if he like had something go wrong with his vocal cords or overused them, but he gets real screechy like on the Porno for Pyros album, and I don't know, just he's not the most likable person. But I really still like the music.
He's got a face that you want to punch. I mean,
he does.
And
some of the smart-ass things he said about, like, using drugs and stuff, I've just been kind of like, dude, don't encourage people.
Yeah, this is voice, though. It's like a Jerry Lewis impersonator singing alternative rock songs. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, yeah, Ocean Size, it's not really one of those ones that you can just kind of like bob your head and rock out to. It's got a bigger sound. The notes are more stretched out. It's not like the next song is much more like
more straightforward.
Yeah. The next song's called Had a Dad, and I mean, when you listen to the lyrics, you can tell that some of the guys in the band have had abandonment issues with regards to their fathers. You know, I looked around me, saw my daddy gone.
Yeah, I mean, I put that, yeah, it was a more straightforward rock song. Pharrell's vocals didn't overpower it, so even if you're not a fan, you can still get some enjoyment. I did like the guitar solo.
Yeah,
I mean, that is really the shining moment from this particular song.
Yeah, I do like this song a lot. It's very catchy. Mm-hmm. It's got good guitar hooks, and you can rock out to it. The 4th track is called Ted Just Admit It, and this is another more concept kind of one.
It's about Ted Bundy.
Is it about Ted Bundy?
Yep, I did some research. So, and apparently there's even a clip of Ted Bundy speaking in a song, if I'm not mistaken.
You know, you're right. I did know that. Why did I not remember that?
All those drugs you took at that concert?
I didn't take any drugs at that concert. It's literally, I was such a goody-goody in high school. I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink. I didn't do any of that. That all started
college hits.
Yeah, that all started in college.
Where's the cocaine?
No, I've never done cocaine. No, there's a line that I won't cross, and that line is made of cocaine. Literally, I will not cross that line with a straw or otherwise.
Okay.
No cocaine for me. I think that would just. No, that would be a bad thing.
You'll work. Hey, hello, how are you? This is Kim.
No.
Would you like a prescription fill? Thank you much.
No cocaine. But yeah, Ted Just Admit It. It's definitely one of those concept songs. When I was listening to the album again, I mean, I don't listen to this album very often. I usually pick it up maybe once every like 4 or 5 months or so. I'll like be, hey, you know, I haven't listened to in a while. I'll pop it on. You know, I'll usually skip that song because it's kind of slow, and then it gets towards the end, and yeah.
I put it had a unique low key way to start the song. I enjoyed the bass work in it. If anything, it's kind of a mood piece similar to Up the Beach.
Yeah.
You know, just with some more vocals in the song. But I liked the music. Could have done without the vocals. If it was just straight instrumental track, I probably would have enjoyed it a little more.
Yeah. All right. So track 5, Standing in the Shower Thinking. This is one of the standouts on this album, I think. I really like this song a lot. Because it's something that I think we can all identify with. Because basically the lyrics are about, like, you get in the shower and you just stand there and you just start thinking. There's sometimes when you got the hot water pouring on you and you just start pondering stuff. And then you piss yourself, apparently. I don't, but some people do. That's the main lyric. It's like, okay. And I'm pissing on myself, standing in the shower, thinking.
We got 94 episodes in and we find this out now.
What, that I generally don't piss in the shower?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay then.
There's a perfectly good toilet right next to the shower that I can use before I get in there.
Yeah.
So I don't need to do it in the shower.
Well, it's not like, you can like have much aiming precision like a guy can, if you do that anyway.
I know that I'm just pissing on myself, literally.
Yeah.
Just like the... Yeah, that's exactly how it sounds.
When women pee, it's just...
Yep,
so
that's...
for any kids listening...
Yeah, it's a science lesson with Dr. Tim here.
Yeah, I did read the Vagina Bible after all. Chapter 7.
Alrighty then. Moving on to...
Well, let me get my thoughts on the song.
Oh, no. You have thoughts other than blah?
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't think of pissing when we...
Well,
when I heard
that's
this song.
one of the main lyrics of the song.
I tend to drown out Perry Farrell's voice. The only song of his that I have any sort of halfway enjoyment out of is Been Caught Stealing.
Okay.
So I more than anything, I just ignore it. But the notes I had is that the album breaks out into a Hootie and the Blowfish song. Just
what?
The music, it started off with that jangly type of Hootie and the Blowfish type of guitar sound. And obviously Hootie came later. I get that. So I'm not, stating that Hootie influenced this song, but it sounded like that. Dave Navarro's guitar work, really good in the song. But the vocals and the lyrics, I mean, like, the water is a fucking hot.
The water is so fucking hot. The water is so fucking hot.
It's like he went into the studio and just made up lyrics and like, that's the song. But why don't we give it a second try? No, that's the song.
Well, that seems to be like part of the songwriting process. Someone goes in there and says, that's the song.
Apparently, I mean, just, yeah. Anyway,
okay.
Next song.
Next track is Summertime Rolls. I've always liked this song. This is one of the first songs that I heard by Jane's Addiction. And it's just, literally, it makes you think of summer, just the way that the guitars and the drums, and it starts out kind of slow and it's kind of meandering. It makes you think of just chilling on your front lawn with your friends in the sunshine, drinking some beers and just relaxing.
I didn't like this song. I could definitely see some Pink Floyd influence when it opened up. And despite my critiques of Jane's Addiction, I don't dislike that band necessarily. It's just, for the songs that I can appreciate, they're more of their up-tempo stuff. Their slower stuff just wasn't there for me. So, it lost me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty, track 7, Mountain Song. I like this song a lot because it starts out really strong and it kicks in with the bass and the guitar. It's all like, it starts out, coming down the mountain. I like it a lot. I like this song a lot.
I like the bass opening to the song. The guitar work, once again, I mean, Dave Navarro is, underrated as a guitar player.
Yeah, I think his his looks and his skeeziness has overshadowed the fact that he actually knows how to play his instrument.
Well, in that, and I think more, over the past 20 years, he's done more reality shows than anything else. I mean, he's not.
Well, they pay.
Yeah, and you got to get money. I'm not knocking him making money, but it's the fact that he's not out there, consistently putting out work that is hitting the mainstream, and also too, rock music is not getting the attention it once deserved. So even if he is actively trying to make music, it's not getting out there. But I also, based on the riff of the song, I would be shocked if the band was not influenced by Judas Priest, because the riff was kind of like a Judas Priest type of riff.
Well, yeah, and you can hear all of these influences that you're bringing up. You can hear those influences, and there's nothing wrong with being influenced by those bands.
Not at all.
Not at all.
I mean, even the Beatles had their influences that you could hear. So that's a part of any artist. Like, the books I've written, you can definitely tell where a lot of the influences came from, and that's going to be that way in any sort of art. So.
Yeah, very true. Next track, "Idiots Rule." And you're thinking, yeah, this band rules. They're idiots.
No. To me, it sounded like the result if Phil Collins produced a Stevie Ray Vaughan song.
What?
It just came out of left field. It
with the horns and stuff.
Yeah, and apparently that was Flea on the horns.
Yeah. The horns are a little unexpected, but I don't know. There's something about the chorus and I just really like this song. Maybe it's because I feel like I'm surrounded by idiots on a pretty regular basis.
And she's looking at me and pointing.
No, I'm not looking at... I'm looking at the ceiling, literally. Looking at the ceiling, so you can't accuse me.
You're looking at me now? No.
Stop looking at me!
If I wake up with more bruises. It's for Jane's addiction, bitch!
Oh, I really hope I do punch you in my sleep tonight now. No, I don't. I'm kidding. Don't sulk. All right. So, did you have anything else to say about the Idiots Rule?
It also started off like a Black Crowes song as well, which
I kind of like the Black Crowes, so that doesn't sound so bad to me.
I'm not knocking the Black Crowes either. It wasn't for me, but it was the most different song on the album, if that makes sense. The other songs, even though some are more up tempo, some are more lower tempo, still felt like they were part of a group. This song just kind of like with the horns and stuff. You're just like, where did this come from? Yeah,
but that's what I kind of like about it, where it comes in the album. It just kind of breaks things up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, track 9, Jane Says. And this is all about Jane, the drug addict. She's gonna kick tomorrow. She's gonna kick her habit tomorrow. She's gonna get clean tomorrow. But today, she's trying to score.
Yeah,
she's gonna
kick guess tomorrow. That was Perry Farrell's roommate or something like that. The inspiration for the band name. I didn't like it. I thought the song was absolute garbage. Again, my opinion. That is my opinion. I'm not saying that people that like it are wrong. That is just my musical taste. I didn't care for it. It was a weird mix of acoustic Zeppelin and reggae that just didn't work for me. And then
I kind of like the kind of steel guitar, steel drums kind of sound.
It just didn't work for me.
Didn't work for you.
And then Jane Says, Perry. That's my Perry Farrell impression. Jane Says.
That sounds nothing like Perry Farrell.
If Morrissey did a spot on it. Oh, Jane Says. Been caught stealing once when I was 5.
I don't. Oh, you're gonna kill me, Tim. I can't. I can't recall the name of the person that you're imitating. That sounds like, but it's not
Jerry Lewis. A bad Jerry Lewis impression. Hey, I Glaven.
Okay, that I guess it is.
You could also say Professor Frank, but Professor Frank is a takeoff on Jerry Lewis anyway. Hey, good guy. That monkey's gonna get it. Professor Frank.
Good Lord! Oh my gosh! All right.
And again, for any Jane's Addictions fans that are listening, this is just my opinion. I oversay this, but I feel it's important in today's environment to just make sure that just because I didn't like it doesn't mean I'm knocking people that do like it. Just my musical taste wasn't my cup of tea.
All right.
Jesus.
All right, track 10 is Thank You Boys.
Thank You Boys.
which is what should have ended the album. Started with Up the Beach, should have ended with Thank You Boys, but there's another track after this. Thank You Boys is it's a throwaway track.
And that's what I put on there too, that it would have made more sense to put this on last and then have it be sort of like a concept album. They could call it a concept album without putting much work into making it a concept album.
Yeah, exactly. But the last track actually is Pigs and Zen. What do you think of Pigs and Zen?
It had a nice opening riff. Mm-hmm. The guitar work makes, for my taste, makes it tolerable. I just didn't like the fact that they were essentially repeating Pigs and Zen as much as they can throughout, and just the vocals at the end, how it ended was it wasn't for me.
Okay.
Pigs and Zen, Pigs and Zen.
Oh God, I can't talk. Anyway.
How many times can I say this? Pigs and Zen. Lollapalooza's next.
Oh, good Lord. All right, so that was
payback with my next show.
That was Jane's Addiction. Nothing shocking, with additional vocals by Tim Jousma. Oh, good God.
Oh, man.
All right, so what are we listening to next time?
Well, one, I forgot to put up a poll on our Facebook group page, and I felt stupid for doing that because, that's one way to get engagement with the audience, and that's give them something to engage with. So I apologize for that. But I've been thinking about a couple of options. Like one I've had on a previous poll was the Ramones' debut album, which had some classic songs there. Like, it opens up with Blitzkrieg Bop. How much better can you get there? I thought of AC/DC, For Those About to Rock, We Salute You.
Oh, God, not AC/DC.
Just think of the impressions you can do of Brian Johnson, For those about to rock, we salute you.
He doesn't sound like that. I'd have to, figure out some kind of obnoxious rock and roll voice.
Yeah. I was also thinking of Frank Zappa. Overnight sensation. It would be interesting to hear your thoughts on Dynamo Hum. Dynamo Hum, for folks that don't know, is the concept of the song is he talks about a woman that bet him, a woman named Dinah, that bet him that he couldn't make her come. So the song is about how he used his thumb to make Dynamo hum. And it's funny, but what I decided to go with, since I've talked about her on the show in the past, same trailer, different park, Casey Musgraves.
Oh God,
I think you are going to be pleasantly surprised. I'm going to make a prediction that you're not going to be a big fan of hers, but you will come out saying this is all right.
Okay, I hope so.
Yeah,
I don't want to hate things that you like.
And the same here, despite my Perry Farrell impression.
Yeah.
And
basically, if they had a different vocalist, you'd like them more.
I probably would. Just different vocalists, different lyrics, a different lyricist. But I mean, Dave Navarro on guitars, with a lot of his solos on the album were great.
Yeah.
Loved his work with the Chili Peppers as well. But with Casey, it's something different.
Which album of hers?
Same trailer, different park.
Oh, that is the name of the album.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Because I thought you were just making some joke about trailer parks.
Nope.
And that's actually the name of the album. Boy, I'm so not with it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go into it in further detail, of course, when we get to it. But
okay,
it's a country album, but it's palatable for general audiences, if that makes sense. Because we've talked. I've talked about a song that she covered from Brooks and Dunn, Neon Moon.
You haven't just talked about it. You've fangirled over it, basically.
I did. It was a great damn song.
I didn't think it was that great.
But hearing the original, and with the Neon Moon, and just hearing Brooks and Dunn with their horrible Southern accents.
Fucking
Immediately
Oh.
took me out of it. But it's like I said, I predict that when next week, by the time we're done with the review, your assessment is that you're gonna think it was all right.
Well, you know, I already have an okay impression of Casey Musgraves because she was the guest judge on RuPaul's Drag Race, and she's been very, very positive towards the queer community in general.
And yeah, there's some positive lyrics for the LGBTQ community on this album. So,
alrighty, well, cool. I hope I like it.
Yeah, and to be clear, even if you don't, you don't. It's, you know, for folks that listen, people these days are so confrontational with their choices that when you have two people like us that can say, I don't like this song that you like, but not being able to take it personally, it can be a shock sometimes, you know, especially...
Yeah, I don't take anything personally that Tim just did, including his impersonation of Perry Farrell and his continued impersonations on and off microphone of Morrissey. Yeah.
But I do feel it's important to make that clear, just because if somebody were to pop in at the moment I'm doing a Perry Farrell impression, you know, they could think of me as an asshole. And
he is kind of an asshole sometimes, but
sometimes, sure, but I do that more for the entertainment factor
you
of
do.
the show.
He likes to be an asshole to make you laugh, people.
Yeah, I'm doing it for you, bitches. But next week, Casey Musgraves, same trail, a different park. This Sunday is going to be our bonus episode. We're going to review NXT TakeOver Portland.
Yes.
We're going to hear what it was like for your baptism into professional wrestling live.
So is it like when you go to Rocky Horror Picture Show and they make the virgins get up on stage and do terrible things?
Yeah, new people, your first time there, you have to take a chair shot to the head.
Ouch.
No, I'm kidding.
I'll make sure to bring my helmet.
No. WWE doesn't even do that anymore, by the way, but for obvious reasons. No, you're gonna...
I'm not gonna have to get wrapped up in toilet paper and jump up and down shouting I'm a tampon, because I had to do that at the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
No. No. I remember when I took a date to go see Rocky Horror in 2017. Early 2017 at Wizard World. And Barry, what's his name? Bostwick, yes. Barry Bostwick was there and actually introduced the movie. And in Portland, they have a theater, the Clinton Street Theater, that every Saturday will play the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I believe in Vancouver, it's the Keegans.
They don't do it every Saturday, though.
But the Keegans still plays
Rocky
Horror.
They do it on occasion.
Yeah. But I don't know if the Keegans has, performers.
Oh, they probably do.
Okay. A dedicated team or just the audience members?
It might just be the Clinton Street gang coming over to Vancouver once in a while. I don't know, honestly.
But it was interesting, like at the start of it, I guess they have a tradition that if you are new there, they brought new people up on stage and they had to lie down and sit and lie down, and their legs had to be they were up in those things you see in gynecologists' office.
Oh, the stirrups?
Yeah, they had the stirrups, and they had to put a chocolate donut on their crotch, and the person they were with had to eat the donut without using their hands. And Barry Bostwick actually, since there was one person who came up that was new that didn't come with anybody, Barry Bostwick had to eat the donut, and the girl was 17 maybe, so that was a little awkward to see.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do those little things just to be goofy
but
it just depends, and usually they make different people do different things. For me, I got wrapped up in toilet paper with two of my friends, and we had to jump up and down and shout, I'm a tampon.
And that may sound weird, but I love the Rocky Horror culture. Mm-hmm. And I love the idea of that film too, that even though it's not the most perfect film in the world, I think it falls off about after the Time Warp. Or the Meatloaf song is good, but overall, just the idea of an entertainment property that's not perfect but celebrates the idea of just being you and being happy with you no matter how imperfect you are. I applaud that. That is beautiful in my book.
Yeah, I agree. It's a fun time.
And seeing Tim Curry as Dr. Frankenfurter on the big screen, I believe he's no more than 5'5", but he was a giant when you saw him come down. He was
wearing those big old platforms too.
Even then, he still looked.
But yeah, he did. Yeah. They do a lot of camera tricks to make him look taller.
That, but it's also him as an actor. I mean,
yeah, he has actors. A presence.
Yeah, he's just. I'm just a sweet trans. And I'm goofing on Perry Farrell, and I can't even sing that.
Yeah. Oh, good Lord.
All right. Another episode's in the books. We are one step closer to episode 100.
Wow.
I can't wait for that. I think we'll do something unique for that.
Okay.
All right. I don't know if it'll be wrapping up in toilet paper and yelling out a tampon or anything.
Yeah, that's just a waste of paper products. We don't need to do that.
Or maybe I can do a whole episode as the Perry Farrell voice.
No.
Welcome to Friends Talking Nerdy.
Let's not, because I'll like end up peeing myself because I'll be laughing so hard, and I won't be able to keep a straight face, and all the recording will be like you saying a few words and then me giggling and then running to the bathroom.
I want to talk about Captain Marvel.
And then the cat will come in and meow while I'm in the bathroom, and yeah.
Yeah, and then Phil got locked in the bathroom the other day. I don't know how.
Yeah, I think he snuck in while I was half asleep, and I accidentally closed the door on him. And
yeah, because sometimes we want to keep them out, so we keep the door closed, and then I heard some scratching. I got up, opened the door, thinking he'd run in, but he was nowhere to be seen, and I still heard the scratching. And I'm like, Phil? He was like, meow. Phil? Meow. And I thought he was in the closet for a second. I'm like, Phil? Meow. Meow. Then I opened up the bathroom door and he came running out, and then I was his hero at that point. So
well, he used to dig in the garbage cans under the sink. They don't. Anyway, we don't need to go into our details. But yeah, Phil accidentally got locked into the bathroom because I was a sleepyhead. And
I got locked in here. How do I get out?
And he's fine, and he didn't even poop in the bathroom or anything like that. So
it may have been only for like 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah, probably wasn't very long. So anyway, I think we're done with this episode. We're just blathering at this point.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, Jesus, would you rather I do that? You're like, no.
I think I've had enough. I've had enough of Jerry doing Perry.
Yeah. All right. With that, another episode's in the books. We will see you all later. And remember,
it's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside. And when you wake up ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling you know that I'll be back when the day is new, and I'll have more ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too. You always make each day such a special day. You know how? By just your being you. Only one person in the whole world like you. That's you yourself. I'll be back next time. Bye-bye.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.